These scary stories from America's most haunted ghost towns will send chills down your spine and give you nightmares. Jefferson, Texas, in eastern Texas near the Arkansas and Louisiana borders, would-be ghost hunters will run across the town of Jefferson and the haunted Jefferson Hotel. It's been in operation since the late 1800s. This historic hotel and one-time brothel has borne witness to a healthy dose of Texas history. The hotel started recording the guests' encounters with the ghost haunting, its rooms and corridors, like the vanishing man who comes and goes and stomps around as he pleases in the hotel's Book of the Deceased. Now, a stay here could have you bumping into all kinds of tormented souls, including Judy, an adult entertainment worker, likely unalived in the hotel allegedly. She now writes her name in the condensed steam left on mirrors after patrons take a hot shower. This hotel is known as the most haunted hotel in the world. Talk about terrifying, right? Burke, Idaho. Now, Burke is a nearly abandoned mining town that kind of boomed in the latter part of the 19th century, then later went bust. The settlement, wedged into an exceptionally narrow mountain valley, is 300 feet across at its most constricted point. The lack of space forced the railroad to run down the main street and forced builders to get creative when designing buildings able to fit into such a confined space. Now, due to a very violent history plagued by fights and basically dynamite sabotage between mine owners and labor, plus the passings caused by just, avalanches, locals might advise avoiding Burke at night. Of course, if you happen to be looking for a run-in with a ghost or two, nighttime is when the deceased apparently come out to play. Bangor, Maine. Now, one of Bangor's most famous residents, author Stephen King, dwells in a mansion here. Now, that's surely reason enough to include Bangor on my list of creepy towns. Mount Hope Cemetery, where a college-age King used to hang out, is another great reason to go. King is said to have come up with character names and some of his scariest story ideas here. Now, scenes from the 1989 film adaptation of Pet Sematary were even actually filmed at this site. The cemetery, founded in 1836, is one of the first garden cemeteries to ever open in the United States. Mount Hope Cemetery Corp and Crematory has a well-earned reputation for being haunted, with reports of apparitions, shadows, and even children's voices. Mount Hope is full of old, distinctive tombstones that inspired one of America's most famous authors, a writer who has spent his career, creeping out a nation and a planet with his horrifying tales. Seward, Alaska. Seward is home to ruins of one of the most tragic incarnations of the Jesse Lee Home for Children. While other orphanages of the same name have operated in Alaska, this location, abandoned after 1964's Great Alaskan Earthquake, which by the way had a magnitude of 9.2, has an exceptionally unfortunate history. Apparently, the ghosts of children who perished during the earthquake still actually haunt the premises today. The pitter-patter of little feet running around, along with the sounds of just skipping rope and giggling tots, are the most common reports coming from those living souls brave enough to actually explore this decaying orphanages. Now, a massive gloomy feeling seems to descend upon all who spend any time here. The Van Gelder Hotel, which is also in Seward, is also rumored to be haunted by a woman who was assassinated in room 202, with some claiming to see her ghost described as a very tall, blonde woman in a blue dress. Now, this town is just riddled with paranormal activity. Remind me to add it to my bucket list. Deadwood, South Dakota. If you've ever, caught an episode of the HBO series Deadwood, you already know who Sheriff Seth Bullock is. If not, a visit to the Bullock Hotel in Deadwood, South Dakota will acquaint you with him very quickly, as his ghost still spends an awful lot of time there. Bullock and Solstar built the hotel in 1895. Being a sheriff, you might guess, that Seth met a grim kind of bullet-riddled demise, but he actually passed away of cancer in 1919. Bullock turned showers on and off, ensures that the living staff, isn't just kind of lollygagging about, and generally likes to make his presence known to all who venture inside his guest house. Several locations aside from the Bullock Hotel, including the Fairmont Hotel, Franklin Hotel, and Saloon Number 10, are frequently cited as particularly haunted. Now, the town's history as a Wild West boomtown with a violent past, including the assassination of Wild Bill Hickok, contributes to its eerie reputation. Ghost tours are usually held at their bars, brothels, and gaming halls, so check it out if you're ever there and report back. Bannack, Montana is actually said to be haunted by Sheriff Henry Plummer. Now, Bannack, Montana is a classic gold rush ghost town. It was founded in 1862 and was home to 10,000 people at its height before it was actually abandoned. Now, it was also home to Henry Plummer, whose, biography basically seems tailor-made for ghost stories. Before arriving in Bannack, Plummer was a sheriff of Nevada County, California, where he was known for playing both sides of the law and where he was eventually joined, by kind of a group of bandits. Now, upon arriving in Bannack to prospect for gold, Plummer again convinced the townspeople to elect him sheriff. Details are sketchy about what happened next. Now, at the time, a group of road agents called the Innocents were terrorizing the town, and it's unclear whether Plummer himself was the founder, and leader of the group. Either way, a group of panicked miners eventually formed a posse and kind of unalived several innocent people, as well as the sheriff. However, it is also possible the Innocents fabricated Plummer's involvement in the group to lessen their culpability and unalived him themselves. Grave robbers later decapitated his body, according to local legend. If you ever kind of wander through Bannack, you might see the headless sheriff's ghost. Another terrifying story from the same town, though, is of a young girl named Dorothy Dunn. She tragically actually drowned in a dredge pond. Now, her demise is said to be linked to sightings of a young girl in a blue dress, often seen in the Mead Hotel. Beyond specific stories, there are reports just generally of cold spots, unexplained sounds, and other ghostly phenomena in various locations within Bannack. Definitely sounds like just one big haunted town, am I right? Batsto Village in New Jersey. This town is said to be the stomping grounds of the Jersey Devil. Well, that doesn't sound so good. Now, Batsto is yet another abandoned American settlement, only instead of being home to a ghost, it's home to a legendary cryptid. Now, it was founded in 1766 to support an ironworks that supplied the Continental Army and was inhabited for the next 110 years. Today, the remains of Batsto are part of the 1.1 million acre forest known as the Pine Barrens. That forest is also home to the legendary Jersey Devil, which means tons of unconfirmed, vaguely written reports of people seeing the creature at Batsto Village. Now, according to legend, the Jersey Devil is, the cursed 13th child of a New Jersey woman named Mrs. Leeds, who gave birth to it in 1735, making it almost 300 years old. It's described as a kangaroo-like creature with the face of a horse, the head of a dog, and bat-like wings, horns, and a tail, and feeds on livestock. Numerous accounts suggest that ghosts are frequently observed roaming the grounds, of Batsto Village. Today, Batsto Village is a popular tourist destination with over 40 sites and structures open for visitors, despite its reputation as a haunted location. Grafton, Utah. Grafton is known as a ghost town with a history of paranormal activity, and some believe its cemetery is indeed haunted. Visitors have reported strange noises, ghostly apparitions, and an overall feeling of just otherworldly presence, suggesting the spirits of the original settlers, may linger there. The town cemetery, with over 80 graves, is particularly rumored to be haunted, with reports of infants crying and a woman walking through a lonely graveyard. It's said to also be haunted by a sobbing woman who kind of wanders the cemetery at night. Now, not all ghost towns are former mining settlements. In 1859, 5 Mormon families settled along the Virgin River just outside of what's now Utah's Zion National Park. They called their settlement Wheeler, and when the Civil War began the following year, they focused on planting cotton. But in 1862, a flood wiped out most of Wheeler. Now, it was rebuilt and renamed Grafton, but floods periodically continued, as well as illnesses and raids by Indigenous Americans. Now, only 28 people lived in Grafton in 1864, according to the census. Most abandoned it by 1890, and by 1909, only 3 families actually remained, and by 1945, it was finally deserted for good. It's since been used as a backdrop for Western films like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Now, like many abandoned, frontier towns, Grafton also has had its very good share of ghost sightings. Ghost hunters have heard crying infants and seen a woman walking again through the town cemetery. Calico, California. Calico ghost town in California is well known for its paranormal activity and ghost stories, making it a very popular destination for those interested in the supernatural. Now, visitors and locals alike have reported experiencing very strange noises, unexplained chills in their body, and even seeing shadowy figures or spectral apparitions, within the town's buildings and streets. Now, this town is said to be haunted by school children and teachers. Prospectors found silver in the Calico Mountains in 1875, and by the early 1880s, the fledgling town of Calico was home to about 2,500 people. But when the Silver Purchase Act of 1890 lowered silver prices, the town became a ghost ghost of its former self. Residents began moving away, and by 1935, it was deserted completely. Now, according to local legend, Calico is home to a variety of spirits, many of whom inhabit, the ruins of the former schoolhouse. Visitors claim to have seen both teachers and students haunting the building, as well as a mysterious red ball of light. Now, despite these occurrences, in 1950, Knott's Berry farm owner Walter Knott purchased the land on which Calico sat and restored the remains of the town. In 1966, Knott donated Calico to San Bernardino County. Now, the town's history, with its many colorful characters and dramatic events, may contribute to the stories of hauntings. The remote location is isolated, and the town may also, enhance the sense of mystery and paranormal activity. Have you ever been to any of these haunted ghost towns? Let me know. I'd love to hear your stories. Thanks for watching. I'm your host, Ashley. Until next time, stay scared.